We live in a world just saturated with social media, right? And, well, if you're anything like me, you've probably wondered about its actual impact, beyond the headlines.
Yeah, definitely.
So, for this deep dive, we're not just skimming the surface. We really want to dig into the discussions around how these platforms shape our communication, our mental well-being.
And even how societies organize themselves.
Exactly. Forget those simple good or bad answers. We're aiming for, I guess, a richer understanding of what's really going on.
Precisely. Our goal here is to get under the skin of it,
Yeah.
looking at communication, mental health, social movements. Does social media lean more positive or negative in those areas?
And we've got some interesting stuff to look at.
We do. We've pulled together, well, a mix of sources, some historical background, research findings, like Pew Research, the U.S. Surgeon General,
Expert opinions, too, right?
yet expert takes, and even a personal story to sort of ground it all. It should help us navigate this pretty complex picture.
Okay, so maybe let's start by setting the stage a bit. Look back at how this all began. It feels so constant now, but it wasn't always here.
That's right. It actually has roots going back, well, a couple decades now.
Really? Like what?
Well, think early 2000s.
Hmm.
You had the first real social networking sites popping up. Things like 6 Degrees, Friendster.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember Friendster.
Right. And their main thing, it seems so basic now, but it was revolutionary. Letting people create profiles and, connect with others online.
Simple idea, huge impact eventually.
That was the seed, yeah. Rudimentary, but crucial.
And then things started to pick up pace, mid-2000s.
Exactly. That's when we saw platforms like MySpace
Mhm.
and, of course, Facebook emerge. They just exploded in popularity.
Right, Facebook felt like it went from niche to everywhere almost overnight.
It really did. They started getting woven into daily life for millions. It's kind of amazing how quickly it all escalated.
And if you fast forward to today, wow.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, the sheer number and variety of platforms now is just staggering, isn't it?
Totally. Apps for everything. Sharing text, photos, videos, short clips, live streams.
It's this constantly shifting ecosystem of, well, digital interaction.
Which brings us neatly to communication. Because it feels like social media has fundamentally changed how we connect. Like, completely.
Undeniably. I mean, the argument that it's enhanced communication is pretty strong.
How so?
Well, these platforms offer just unprecedented reach, right? And so many ways to engage, to share information. Just think about the speed and the sheer breadth of it all.
That makes me think of that quote by John Gilmore. You know the one?
Remind me.
The internet is the first technology since the printing press that could lower the cost of distributing information below the cost of controlling it.
Ah, yes. That's powerful.
And when you think about how information, and let's be honest, misinformation too, spreads on social media.
Like wildfire.
Yeah, that quote really hits home.
It really does. It speaks volumes about, dismantling those old gatekeepers in information. And on a more sort of personal level, Pew Research found something interesting.
What's that?
That a majority of teens, around 59%, they actually feel more connected with their friends because of social media.
Wow, 59%. That's significant.
It really highlights its role in how young people socialize today. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it, about the kind of connection?
Winian.
Like, is it just keeping tabs on each other's lives? Or does it go deeper into real emotional support? That's the question.
That's a great point. Quality versus quantity, maybe?
Something like that. And Alistair Shepard had an interesting take on this. He said, social media is not just an activity. It is an investment of time and resources.
With the expectation of a return.
Yeah.
I remember that.
In the form of connection, knowledge, or influence.
Right. That really gets at the idea that we're often, actively doing something when we're on there, expecting something back.
Yes, exactly. There's often this underlying purpose, whether we realize it or not, we're looking for something.
Validation. Information.
A sense of belonging, maybe? All of the above sometimes. But this hyperconnectivity, it also opens doors to, well, potential problems.
Right. Which leads us into the mental health side of things. Because while we're more connected, maybe there's definitely a growing concern about the downsides.
There is. The worry is that even as it connects us, social media can, unfortunately, contribute to some negative mental health outcomes.
How does that work?
Well, we see it with increased social comparison, for instance. Constantly seeing these curated, perfect-looking versions of other people's lives.
Highlight reels.
Exactly. And then there's heightened exposure to things like cyberbullying. And ironically, all this connection can sometimes leave people feeling more isolated, more lonely.
It's a strange paradox, isn't it? More connected, yet potentially more alone.
It is. And the U.S. Surgeon General's advisory from 2023, that really put some stark numbers on it.
Yeah, what did that find again?
Basically, that adolescents spending over 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of poor mental health outcomes.
Double the risk. Wow, things like depression and anxiety.
Yep, depression and anxiety. And just so we're clear, we mean those states with, like, persistent sadness, losing interest in things, feeling really worried or uneasy a lot of the time.
Okay, that's alarming.
It's a major public health concern, no doubt. And we actually have a personal testimonial that really brings this to life.
Okay, let's hear it.
This person said, I used to spend hours scrolling through Instagram and everyone's life looked so perfect. I started feeling like my own life was boring and that I wasn't good enough.
Oh, wow.
It made me really anxious and down all the time. It was like I was constantly comparing my behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel.
That phrase, comparing my behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, that just perfectly captures it, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows the power of that social comparison. Psychologically, we tend to do that, compare ourselves upwards to people who seem better off.
Which just fuels feeling inadequate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a tough cycle.
That testimonial really hits hard. But okay, shifting gears a bit. Our sources also talked about a totally different area where social media's impact is huge. Social movements.
Ah, yes. This is where the story gets really interesting, I think. Because social media has, well, undeniably revolutionized how social and political movements get going.
How they organize, communicate, build momentum.
Totally. Think about how it used to work.
Right. Traditionally, movements relied on like physical meetings, established groups, maybe flyers or newsletters.
Much slower, more localized methods.
Yeah.
Often, social media just changed the entire landscape.
How so, specifically?
Well, now you have people who are miles apart, different cities, different countries even,
Connecting instantly.
coordinating actions in real time, sharing information with, well, unprecedented speed and reach. It just shattered a lot of those old logistical barriers.
Yeah, you can see that. And John Ronson made that point about giving voice to the voiceless.
Right. He said, the great thing about social media was how it gave a voice to voiceless people.
And that really highlights the democratizing potential, maybe.
Absolutely. It's empowered communities, individuals.
Right.
People who might have been shut out of traditional media, allowing them to share their own stories, build collective power.
You see that with movements like #MeToo or Black Lives Matter, for instance.
Definitely. The impact on how movements communicate and exert influence in our, very digital world has been massive. Transformative, really. It's hard to ignore its role in recent history.
So, okay, we've gone through communication, then mental health, now social movements, and it's just so clear that this isn't a simple good or bad situation, is it?
Not at all. It's incredibly complex.
Like, it's amplified our ability to connect, to organize, which seems positive.
Right.
But it also throws up these really significant challenges, especially for individual well-being. It's a real paradox.
Exactly. We've seen how it grew from those early simple platforms into this huge, sprawling digital thing it is today.
Yeah.
And it's definitely boosted the speed and reach of communication. It's key to how we socialize now. But it carries these risks for mental health, like we talked about, the comparison trap, feeling isolated.
And yet,
On the flip side, it's this powerful engine for social change, empowering voices that maybe weren't heard before. It's all tangled together.
so wrapping this up, maybe here's something for you, the listener, to really chew on.
Okay.
Considering how incredibly fast social media keeps changing, I mean, the platforms, sure, but also how we use them, how do you think these dynamics might shift?
Good question.
The way we communicate, the mental health impacts, its role in movements, where is that all heading in the next few years?
Yeah, what's the next evolution?
And maybe even more importantly, what responsibility do we all have in this? Us as individuals, society as a whole, and the platforms themselves, of course. What's our role in trying to shape a more positive, healthier online world going forward?
That's the big question, isn't it? How do we steer this thing? Lots to think about there.